to love?
I guess it's just to value myself. I think as I'm doing multiple things and I'm juggling a bunch of things, I think just taking pride in what I do and valuing who I am and who I've become and really appreciating those who've gotten me to where I am.
You believe that isn't how you want to run your family. I have no choice but to respect that. But don't pretend as if it isn't an unpopular.
I'm lucky to have Zaya as my bonus daughter. You know, I did not birth her, but I've never felt more connected to anyone, and I've never felt more of a purpose as one of the adults in her village that is standing 10 toes down, sometimes behind her, sometimes beside her, and sometimes in front of her leading. So no, I'm honored.
Behind every viral family story, there is usually a public version, a private version, and then the internet's version. Zaya Wade's story became one of those rare celebrity family moments where all three collided at the same time. In 2020, Dwyane Wade publicly shared that his child was going by Zaya and using she, her pronouns. He explained that he and Gabrielle Union were trying to listen, learn, and support their daughter instead of forcing her into a version of life that made outsiders comfortable. That moment was praised by many people, especially LGBTQ supporters, because it showed a famous black father speaking openly about acceptance on a national platform. But the bigger Zaya's public profile became, the more the conversation shifted. Supporters saw a family standing behind a child in a hostile public climate. Critics saw something different. A celebrity household turning a deeply personal journey into a public-facing brand. That is where the tension began. Was this visibility protection, advocacy, or image building? Different audiences answered that question in completely different ways. Gabrielle Union and Dwyane Wade also said they sought guidance, including from people connected to the show Pose, because they wanted to understand how to support Zaya properly. So the real story is not just about one announcement. It is about what happens when a child's identity, a famous father's platform, a Hollywood stepmother's image, and millions of strangers online all meet in the same public space.
People are being targeted, terrorized, and hunted in this country. Every day, everywhere. And there's rarely a whisper about it. We honestly don't approach this work as activists or leaders as much as we do this as parents. Parents who love our children and will do whatever the hell we can to keep them seen and secure. And
the controversy became much bigger once the legal fight entered the picture. In August 2022, Dwyane Wade filed a petition in Los Angeles County Superior Court seeking to legally change Zaya's name and gender marker. According to reporting on the case, Zaya's mother, Siobhan Funches Wade, later objected and asked the court to wait until Zaya reached the age of majority before making the change official. That filing turned a private family disagreement into a national headline. Her objection made serious claims. She alleged that Dwyane Wade could benefit financially from Zaya's public identity and that media opportunities or brand deals might be connected to the issue. Those were allegations from one side of a court dispute, not proven facts. Dwyane Wade publicly denied the idea that he was exploiting Zaya and pushed back strongly against the accusations, saying the petition was about respecting his child's identity and well-being. That is why this story became so explosive. It was no longer only about support or parenting. It became a battle over trust, timing, parental authority, and public exposure. One side argued that major legal decisions should wait until adulthood. The other side argued that recognition and support should not be delayed when a young person is already living publicly as herself. In February 2023, a Los Angeles judge granted the legal name and gender marker change, officially recognizing Zaya as Zaya Malachi Aramis Wade.
Mom, who wants her children to have a fair chance at making their own decisions, while you and your I want to be a husband convince your child that they need to get the whole trans thing going on now so they can get a Disney contract. And we all know what Disney does to children. Imagine what they do to trans kids.
After the legal decision, Zaya's visibility only grew. She was no longer just being discussed as Dwyane Wade's daughter. She was becoming a public figure in her own right. In March 2023, she made her runway debut at New Muse Fall Winter Show during Paris Fashion Week, a major fashion moment that placed her directly inside the luxury style conversation. Reports later connected her public profile with brands in fashion spaces, including Miu Miu, Tiffany & Co., Dove, and other high-visibility appearances. For supporters, this looked like empowerment. They saw a young person growing into confidence, using fashion and visibility to claim space in an industry where black trans girls are rarely centered. In later interviews, Zaya described wanting to show up authentically, including keeping her braids for her Miu Miu debut instead of changing herself to fit a narrow fashion standard. That detail mattered, because it showed the moment was not only about fame, it was also about identity, race, presentation, and self-expression. But critics viewed the same timeline through a more skeptical lens. They connected the legal dispute, the brand opportunities, and the media attention, then asked whether the spotlight had become too intense. The fair way to tell this part of the story is to separate what is confirmed from what is speculation. The confirmed facts are the court ruling, the fashion rise, and the public advocacy. The speculation is whether any of that was controlled or pushed for the wrong reasons. That distinction is what keeps the debate alive.
The one who sat down with us as a family and said, hey, I don't think I'm gay. I identify myself as a young lady, but she's known that for 9 years.
She's known since she was 3.
She's known since she was 3 years old. This is her life. This is no game to us. We're about protecting her heart. We're about protecting her joy. To do that, we have to support. We see the smile on our daughter's face. We see the confidence that she's able to walk around.
Once celebrities and commentators started weighing in, the story moved even further away from the family itself. Public figures like Boosie Badazz criticized Dwyane Wade and Gabrielle Union, and those comments quickly became viral debate material. Other online personalities also made claims or gave opinions about the family, but many of those claims remained unverified and were amplified mostly through podcasts, social media clips, and reaction channels rather than confirmed reporting. This is where celebrity culture changes the shape of a story. A legal filing is one thing, a family interview is one thing, but once short clips start circulating on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and podcast pages, the conversation becomes something else. People stop responding only to the facts and start responding to edited moments, emotional reactions, and the version of the story that fits their side. Supporters of the Wade family argued that much of the criticism was rooted in misunderstanding or prejudice toward trans youth. Critics argued that the family invited attention by speaking publicly and building a visible advocacy platform. At the 2023 NAACP Image Awards, Dwyane Wade and Gabrielle Union used their acceptance speech to praise Zaya and speak about the dangers facing Black LGBTQ people. For supporters, that speech was a powerful defense of their daughter. For critics, it was another example of how personal family matters had become part of a public brand. Either way, the speech showed that the Wade family was not backing away from the conversation. They were choosing to face it in public.
I used to do all those things. I try to put on whatever my sisters wear, what my sisters did, I try to do those things. So at first, I said to myself, oh no, I did that. So I ain't just doing the things that I did. And then they kept going further and further, and then me and my wife had to look at each other.
As the years passed, the Zaya Wade conversation became less about one moment and more about a pattern. Old interviews resurfaced. Small quotes were clipped into viral posts. Fashion photos, red carpets, family speeches, and past comments were analyzed over and over again. That is how modern celebrity controversy works. Once the internet attaches a bigger meaning to a family, every public appearance becomes evidence for someone's argument. Dwyane Wade has often framed his position as a parent first. In interviews, he described the responsibility of listening when a child comes forward with questions or needs support. He also said that he and Gabrielle Union wanted to give Zaya the best information and feedback they could, rather than reacting from fear or public pressure. Meanwhile, Zaya's own public image kept developing. By 2024, she and Dwyane helped launch Translatable, a platform designed as a safe space and resource hub for LGBTQIA+ youth, families, and support systems. The project was reported as an online support community for trans youth and their families, with backing connected to groups like the Human Rights Campaign and the Trevor Project. That development matters because it shows the story did not end with the court case. It expanded into advocacy, fashion, youth visibility, and public education. For some people, that is meaningful progress. For others, it raises the same old question, where is the line between using a platform to help people and keeping a personal story in the public eye? That unresolved question is the reason this topic keeps resurfacing.
Guess now because they're getting older, I guess it just moved over to the Wade house.
Energy transfers.
And I'm not saying that because of their trans daughter. I'm saying that because of the artist that I just spoke to not that long ago that got invited to a party at their house. Everything was cool up front, so they went to the back and there was a bunch of old and young boys back there all connected in the Wade house. So I find it funny that Gabrielle's sitting there talking about Boosie. Maybe you suspicious of him because of that's happening in your house.
By the time the conversation reached this stage, it had become bigger than Zaya, Dwyane Wade, or Gabrielle Union. It became a debate about fame, parenting, identity, privacy, and who gets to control a young person's public story. The confirmed record shows that Zaya came out publicly as transgender in 2020, received legal recognition for her name and gender marker in 2023, entered major fashion spaces, and later helped launch a resource platform for LGBTQIA+ youth with her father. The public reaction, however, has never been simple. Supporters believe the Wade family gave Zaya the kind of public protection and affirmation that many young people never receive. Critics believe the family's media presence made a private journey too visible, especially because Zaya was still a minor when much of the conversation began. Both reactions explain why the story keeps generating strong emotion. Recent coverage shows Zaya continuing to build her own identity beyond the early controversy. In 2026, she was reported as celebrating her 19th birthday around the second annual Translatable Ball, speaking about visibility for trans youth and continuing to grow as a model, activist, and young adult. So, the ending of this video should not pretend there is one simple answer. What we are really watching is the cost of living a personal truth inside a public machine. Some people see courage, some people see strategy, some people see pressure. But one thing is clear. Every time this family speaks, the internet turns it into another chapter